I've been using Photoshop for a very long time. 18 years at Geekazine. Of course, I use it for adjusting photos or creating promotions, creating thumbnails for my YouTube videos, things like that. But I've been using Photoshop way before Geekazine, way before Adobe had a C in it after the names. Photoshop 1 or 2 or 3, I don't know, I couldn't tell you exactly. It was definitely in the 90s. It's changed dramatically and it's gotten better and better. Of course, we expect things like this to get better and better. But the one biggest problem was you always had to have a physical copy on a computer somewhere. The licensing was nice because I could actually have Photoshop on a few different computers, and I just had to deregister on one computer to use it on another. And that helps me because I switch from computer to computer like people switch socks, hopefully. Change your socks.
I am assisting you with your sock change.
When Adobe came out as a software as a service, a web page version of Adobe, it was pretty interesting. The first couple of versions, not that great, but it was something to work in a pinch. But now, especially with generative AI coming into play with Photoshop, this software as a service is just amazing to use. In fact, a couple days ago, I was upstairs. I was creating a new promo for my music. I'm a musician, and of course, the summer months are upon us, so I have to put together events, and I just wanted to update the page. And so I created a new image, and I'm going to show you that image in a minute here. But the whole idea is that I was sitting on my couch, and it's like, I really don't want to go into the studio to make the adjustments. Well, I whipped out my MacBook M3. I came up to the web page, took the pictures that I needed to take, and then put it all in and made the image that I made. Like I said, I'll show you that in a minute. And that's the beautiful thing about Adobe and their software as a service. And we're going to show you that, not only that picture, but also how I create my YouTube thumbnails. And we will create a YouTube thumbnail for this video, and we're going to do that next. What's up, my geeks? Jeffrey Powers from Geekazine. Think magazine, put in a geek. So, like I said, Photoshop, we're going to go over here right now. Boom, there's Photoshop. This is Photoshop as a service, as opposed to the software, the actual software right there. There we go. There's Photoshop. So that's the actual what's on my computer, and this is what's on the web page. Now, Adobe does have different software as a service. In fact, if you go to all apps at Adobe and you choose the web ones, you can see all the web versions that you can choose. Like for instance, Lightroom. You can take a whole bunch of pictures and make adjustments to them to send off to clients or whatever. Adobe Acrobat is another one. Adobe Illustrator is another one. And then of course we have the generative AI, Adobe Firefly, where you can create not only photos, but video. And then of course, Adobe Express, which I've been using a lot as of late to create just little graphics, you know, Facebook posts, Instagram posts, things like that. So if you have that full version of Adobe with all the apps, you get to use these. Plus, you get to use the beta versions of the apps. So when something new from generative AI comes out or some new feature inside of Photoshop, you can download the beta, can play with it, and then, of course, open up the regular version so you can get your work done, so you can be prepared when that becomes mainstream. With all those apps, I'm just going to focus right now on one, and that's Adobe Photoshop. And because this is what I use a lot of the time for whatever I do. If I create a video, I got to create a thumbnail. I need Adobe Photoshop. If I create a promotional picture, I use Adobe Photoshop. And I'm going to show you a couple different things that I created with this. First of all, we're going to go into the one thing that I did, the reason why I was thinking about this video last night. Basically, what I did was I went up to my studio and I took a picture of myself behind each of my instruments to create a Facebook banner for my music page. Because I'm a drummer in a band and I do an acoustic show, you know, I pick up a lot of instruments. So what I decided was created this pretty fun little image right here. And so basically these are different versions of me just put together as one. And the best part is, as you can see right here in the upper corner, that we have all the layers. You can see all the layers right here and a lot more. So you can definitely do a whole bunch of stuff with Photoshop in here. There's a couple things that are kind of weird that you have to understand on how it works, and gets a little bit confusing at first, but a little bit of work and you could be breezing through this without a problem. And the best part is whatever computer you're on, you can call it up and you can use it as long as it is in a supported browser. And of course, the machine is more recent, we'll just say it that way. So Windows or Mac, doesn't matter. Chrome, Firefox, Edge, you can use them in a lot of those browsers. Of course, you'll have to see if you have to do any type of updates or anything like that to make sure that you can use the app. But if you got a computer that's fairly decent and you got a browser that's fairly decent, you should be able to do it. And of course, you'll need some space on your hard drive because it does download files. So it can work on them, so it can re-upload them to the web. And you will need a decent internet connection. This is the image that I created upstairs on my couch with my MacBook M3 Air that doesn't have the Adobe software on it. It all started with this image right here. The image is fairly straightforward. It's me behind the drum set. Now, as you can see, a little bit of mess in the room. And of course, we got this curtain that's kind of weird. And some of the other things I wanted to get rid of on here. I knew that was easy to do because generative AI, generative fill will knock all that stuff out without a problem. Once again, what I wanted to do is I wanted to put myself behind each instrument. So basically what I did was I took a picture of that. So I set the camera up and then got behind each instrument, took a picture. With that, I created a guitar me. And then I created a piano me. And then I got rid of some of the junk around my studio, like that. And then I created a bass me. And that's basically it. And as you can see in here, we have in the area, this is all layers, just like with Photoshop. And I have this in a group, so we'll just do that. And that closes the group. And then of course that can turn on and off the image. So as you can see, a lot of the images are here. In fact, what I'll do is I'll do that. We'll come back out here and then I'll show you. So we got this image right here, which is everybody. And then there's me on the piano, me on the guitar. And to take this out, it was actually just like with Photoshop, very, very straightforward. All I had to do was go over to this area right here. And let's just close this out. So right here, we have the menu bar where we can do our size and position, generative fills. We can adjust things. We can make selections, retouch, quick actions, paint, shapes, type, and add image. And so basically what I did was I went into select and then made sure that I was on object selection. And from there, I came in, as you can see, things start to highlight into pink. And let's see, there I am. I can take out the piano player just as easily as clicking on there and then copying, pasting. And if you notice back over here, you'll see some of these, it's already figured out what things can be removed. Like as I hover over this one, that you see that turn pink, that could be removed, or that could be copied and pasted, so the background could be blurred out or anything like that. But you get the idea. It's got a lot of options and they're really quick in that. And this only takes, when you call this up, it does need to go out to the web to figure out where all the highlights are and be able to make the selections. It's not all perfect, but it does a pretty decent job. And then what it doesn't capture, the stuff that I have to fix, I can do through a lasso tool or rectangle tool or anything like that. So we have all these layers and they're all set up just like this. One thing about this, in some cases you can deselect, just like I normally deselect, go to the selection tool and then just click off. And like, let's go to lasso tool and I'll do that. And then it deselects. But what you can also do, and this also works in Photoshop itself, is there's going to be a deselect button. You go ahead and press that, and then that'll deselect anything that's already selected. Well, that is a even better option right there. I didn't even realize that it was that in Photoshop, and there it was. That's how things change in Photoshop, which is great. So I got my layers and I got everything set into a group. Now have the ability to bring everything in, create this. And I did this all upstairs, sitting on the couch, watching TV, relaxing, and creating content. We have many different options here. I love the adjust thing. So let's say I wanted to give this whole thing a sepia tone. Boom, just like that. I can revert by going back up to the area and then hit revert, and it reverts right back to what it is. There is a history tab, and you can get to the history tab simply by going up here. We have our layers right here, and then we have our properties, and then we have our history panel, and then of course comments panel. So if you're basically doing a project for somebody and they send you the project and you want to make some notes so they can make some changes, you can do that right there. Or you can make comments to yourself, like saying, hey, fix this guy's beard, I don't know, or anything like that, and be able to fix that. You got your history, like I said, down here. So if you need to change something, you can easily do that. Now, this was not the final version because the curtain's still messy. We did clean up the rug right here. And of course, I wanted to get rid of some of these lights up here. And I think the shadow I fixed as well. This is the final version. Notice with generative fill, what I did was I was able to fix the curtain. So it kind of looks like that. I should have probably made the curtain go all the way, but this is a working studio. So I wanted to show a little bit of the grittiness of the studio. Now we have this all set up, and now I can send this off, and I did. I can send it off to Facebook as my banner. If you go over to Jeffrey Powers Music, you'll be able to see that as well. So that, like I said, all from my couch, all from a MacBook Air. I'm on a Windows machine right here, and lots of things transfer over, like for instance, copy paste, Control C, Control V, or Command C, Command V if you're on a Mac, be able to do that without a problem. Let's go ahead and go into a different program here, and I'll show you how to do that. So we're over here. Up on top, you'll actually see the name of the file, Mi Band. So if I hit the drop down, we can rename it or check the document info, get the image size, all that other information, and the version history right there. Several different version histories. On the right, this tells you if the file has been saved or not. If it's in pending to save, then you can do Control S or Command S for saving the file, and then it'll save it right to the cloud. And of course, that's also going to be as fast or slow as the internet is. This is the main menu drop down, but we can also hit on the Photoshop logo, and that will take us right back to the main Photoshop menu. Simple as that. Now, what I'm going to do, we're going to do it right now, is we're going to create the thumbnail that you're going to see on this video. Let's go ahead. I've got a pre-made graphic that I use, and I make little changes here and there. Like for instance, we're going to have text on the top, standard YouTube thumbnail to get attention into the video that you want to use. So we've got me right here. We've got the text up here. What's missing is the image. What we're going to do is I'm going to go back here because I forgot to do one thing. I'm just going to do a simple print screen of the web page, this whole web page. We're going to go back in here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go down here in the menu to add image. And then we could add images, like we could put this fish in here. Let's put the fish in. That's for kicks and giggles. And it's adding the image from Adobe stock. And of course, you'll need to have stock enabled on that. And there we have a big fish. Let's get rid of the fish. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to add an image, but we're just going to basically hit paste. And when this happens to you, you'll probably be asked, is it okay to allow the paste to happen through the web page? And you just say yes. And there it is. And there you have your image. So now we have it here. I'm going to go ahead and resize this. Then I'm going to give it slight tilt. I kind of like tilting things. I don't know why, but I got to make sure it's not the same tilt as the text. There we go. Now, to get it out of this, as you notice, it's right here. We can say done down here, or we can go back up to the move arrow to change this. We're just going to do done. And now it's going to be ready with the angle. Everything's good to go. Text. I want to change that text from the web. Now you notice that what it did was it changed the font, which is really interesting. When I'm done here, if I double click on this and go back in, it changes it back to the font that it was at. A small little bug or whatever from there, but it fixes itself. You just have to understand that happens. And of course, in a future update, you might not even know that it updates, that gets fixed all of a sudden. You don't have to worry about it. But we have that, and now I'm going to do that from the web. I'm going to bring that down here. I'm going to take this arrow and move this so we can point to the item. We're going to get that down a little bit lower so these don't overlap too much, because I'm following ideas and rules, not really rules, but ideas that to make a better thumbnail from YouTube. Now I have this image, and I've used this image on a few of my thumbnails, so it's time to kind of change this up. So what I did was I took a picture of myself, and basically I want to change that. I created the image, move this over, and basically I'm just going to go back to this one, and I'm going to hide it. Close this out, and then go back to here. Sometimes it's best to go into the select image before you bring it over, because sometimes if you don't do that and you try and bring over an image, it doesn't do it. But in this case, it did. So if you're having problems bringing over images, just open this up to add image. You can upload from device, but you don't need to all the time. And as long as your browser has the permission to make changes, it'll do that. So there's the image. I wanted to bring this, layer this up. Gonna slide that up, and we're gonna slide it up all the way to the top right now because I want it to be on the top. And what I'm gonna do, of course, is I'm gonna go to my select tool, and I'm gonna go to object selection. It's gonna take a second to figure out items that can be selected in here. And there it goes. You saw the little blue passing by. Now everything is in pink. So I can grab this, or I can grab this. I'm going to grab this. So I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to copy and paste. Simple as that. And the layer right there, let's get this out of the way so you can see it. And with this layer right here, there's the image. In fact, we'll get out of there. There we go. So we can take this image right here, boop, gone. And all we have left is the main image of me pointing at the item, and it's out of place right now, of course. So we're going to take this image and we're just going to move it over, boop, 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 like that. And then I'm going to resize it a little bit. I want to make sure that I'm not covering this web page because that's the focus. And then I'm going to just bring this down. Now I've got the image behind here, and I need to now move this because as you can see, it's blocking my hand. And I could easily fix that in another way by bringing this over, coming back to this image. Let's do the lasso. We'll bring this in like this, and then we will copy paste. We will bring that above this image. We will then select and move this, as you can see. And then, of course, I need to go back to this part of the image and then take out the shirt, which I'm just using the quick select tool. And that might be a little bit too much, so we'll start over. Go like that, and go delete. And then down here, it's getting some of the fingers, so I'm going to have to do this a little bit different. The lasso tool, and then bring that kind of around more to the point of focusing on, and I could zoom in on this if I wanted to deselect this, and boom. Deselect that. I see a little ring around here that I need to get rid of because there we go. Deselect that. Boom. There we go. So now I've got my hand in front of the item, which is cool. And now I'm going to take this and I'm going to move this over a little bit. And I could do a little bit more work on here. I also noticed that right here, I have a little bit of extra stuff that I can fix. So let's get the lasso tool back in here and go here and then go boom, boom. And now that's done. And now we've got this guy right here. Looks a lot better. Let's get the layers out of the way so you can see that. So we now have from the web, this is the thumbnail. I'm going to still make a small adjustment by taking this and bringing this down a little bit. That little thing on the end's bothering me. So what I'm going to do is lasso it out. Delete. There we go. Now I have my image ready for the web. And close that out. So what I can do from here is I can go to the top corner here, and I have different options on how to send this out. The cool thing about this is it syncs with the desktop app. And in fact, I do have the desktop app open, and I don't know. Yeah, right there. As you can see, the small little thumbnail, open it up, and of course, show exactly what I was doing with the web page. And then I can continue my editing from here. Same thing from here, as I could edit this and it'll go right back into the web. Pretty instantaneous once it saves. So now I just want to send this off to whoever, and that's where this upper quadrant is going to help us out with. So I'm going to bring this up. We have the option to download it right onto the computer. We can open in the desktop app, like I said. We can share the document and we can invite people. We can open it in the desktop app, save it to Adobe Express. There is also a way to do a QR code, and that's through the download. So we go to download, we can download on the computer, or we can download on the phone with a QR code. And then that QR code is going to bring it to my phone. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. There we go. And there we are right there from the web. Now I can download this on my phone and be able to use it. If I'm uploading my YouTube from my phone, I can now put the thumbnail in there so I can get that ready for whatever I need, YouTube, Facebook, or whatever. Or if I'm creating a graphic and I want to show this to the client, I can do that in the lobby and then just have this on my phone ready to show the client. Or if somebody else is watching through the computer, we can do the QR code and they can load it on their phones and they can see what's going on there. You have a lot of ability to do work in the platform that works best for you, whether you're on a Windows machine, whether you're on a Mac machine, whether you're on a phone or anything like that. And you can bring it in, you can do the work, you can get it done, you can send it to the client. They can suggest the changes, make the changes, and then you can get that out. Or somebody like me that just wants to make my YouTube experience a little bit easier because it's changed immensely in the last 18 years. And being able to do this on the fly is great. When I'm out at a conference and I do an interview, I can take a snapshot and I can turn it into a thumbnail fairly quickly. And like I said, it's not just Photoshop that you can do that with. You can touch up the photo through Lightroom. You can do some AI images through Illustrator, or you can just create a PDF through Acrobat. No video editing like Premiere Pro or Rush just yet, but down the line, definitely possible. Lots of function, lots of cool stuff that you can do with that. And that is Adobe Photoshop, the software as a service, the web page. That's part of the Adobe subscription. Thanks a lot for watching. What do you use Photoshop for? Let me know in the comments below over at geekazine.com, youtube.com/geekazine. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell notification so you know when the next video comes out. Until next time, my name is Jeffrey Powers. Thanks a lot for watching, and you guys geek out and Photoshop on with Adobe.